Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today to look at Antarctica cruises, and specifically Antarctica 21. And I'm here with Francesco Contini, who's the Executive Vice President, Sales and Marketing for Antarctica 21. Now, some of you may be familiar with it, and others may not, but it's got brand new ships. It's beautiful. They have one on the way, and we're going to talk with Francesco about this product and a whole lot more on Insider Travel Report. Tell us a little bit about Antarctica 21. When was it formed and who owns it? And you said it's headquartered in Toronto or some other place?
No, no, Antarctica 21 is a Chilean company. It
Okay,
was started in the year 2000 as a company by three partners who had this idea of flying to Antarctica.
right.
So their first trip operated in 2003. And since then, the company has been focused exclusively on the operation of Antarctic fly-in cruise expeditions.
Right.
That's really what the company does. Since then, the company has grown significantly. New partners have joined the company. And we now have a main office in Punta Arenas where we
Okay.
do all the administration and we do the operations. And then we have a commercial office in Santiago. And then we have people representing the company all over the world, working with partners on the commercial side of things.
Well, it's interesting because so this whole air bridge thing is nothing new to you guys, right?
No, in fact, we are the company that invented this model over 20 years ago, as I
Wow.
mentioned. And we have done it in partnership with Aerovías DAP, which is an aviation company there in the south of Chile, and is also a partner in our business. So we've really been pioneering in that sense and expanded the access to the destination through this very, special model of visiting Antarctica.
Now, right now, how many ships do you have? I know that you have Magellan Explorer, Magellan Discoverer, and I guess it's Magellan. Or no, this one is called Ocean Nova. Uh,
Ocean Nova.
can you tell us about all three? And there is another one on the way, right?
So the fleet currently is composed of Magellan Explorer, which is a vessel that was custom built by us for the operation of the Antarctic Air Cruise model, and Ocean Nova. Ocean Nova is a vessel that has been in our fleet for, I think, 12 years.
Okay,
And it's a vessel that was originally built for navigation along the coast of Greenland. And it's a vessel that has been around for a number of years.
right.
So currently, that's the fleet
The
and
two ships, and the
the
new
two
one is the
vessels.
other one, right?
The new one is Magellan Discoverer, which
Okay.
is currently under construction. It is a sister ship to Magellan Explorer. And Magellan Discoverer will come into service in December of 2026, next year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so when that new vessel arrives, it will take the place of Ocean Nova in our fleet, and Ocean Nova will at that point leave the fleet.
Okay. Now, what cruises do you offer to the destinations? Obviously, Antarctica is your specialty. You do some Patagonia, Chile, the Chilean fjords. Is that really it? And you do different itineraries, right?
Correct. So we're an Antarctic specialist. 92% of our revenue is generated in Antarctica. In Antarctica, we operate three different main itineraries of different durations, and they have prices that range from approximately $5,000 all the way to over $30,000. And that's the bulk, all with the flight access into Antarctica. And then in addition to that, we have at the very beginning and at the end of the season, a short season in subantarctic areas like South Georgia, the Falkland Islands, as well as the southern part of Chile. These are positioning trips for us, but we take advantage and we offer some special departures. But it's a very, very small component of what we do. About only 8% of our revenue is generated outside Antarctica.
Got it. Got it. So you really are the specialist and also this air cruise model that you developed, it sounds like. Because we only I thought I only started hearing about this when I think who else does it? I think Silversea does it, Aurora does it. There's maybe a few others, but it became Lindblad started doing it, which I had to laugh because Sven Lindblad said once he would never do it, and then he did it. He said, well, part of the old explanation was, you really have to experience the full cruise, including the rough bits. And the answer is maybe some people don't want to do that, and also it shortens the cruise, right?
Correct. I mean, the real benefit of this Antarctic air cruise model is that it eliminates the crossing of the Drake Passage.
Right.
So for your audience familiar with it, that they'll know the Drake Passage is this body of water between South America and Antarctica. It is an unpredictable body of water, very stormy, and it can create unpleasant sailing conditions, let's say, and sometimes dangerous sailing conditions. So it takes about 50 hours each way,
Yeah.
depending on the conditions to cross, and it can be uncomfortable. And so the flight replaces that crossing with a 2 hour comfortable ride. And you land directly in Antarctica and you can focus on the Antarctic experience. So when you land, you transfer to a ship, and then you have the same experience in Antarctica you would have with any traditional way of visiting the White Continent, but you do it with access that is a lot more comfortable and faster. So the benefits are the speed of the flight and the comfort of the flight by avoiding the Drake Passage.
Now, where do you land in Antarctica specifically? Because I just want to know, does everybody land the same place? It's that island, I believe, off the coast, right?
Correct. So the place is called King George Island,
Yeah.
and yeah, so at the Chilean base called Frey, there is a runway. It's a gravel runway. There is no real infrastructure there. So we land these jets that have been customized for landing in these type of runways onto that runway, and then we transfer from there to the vessel and begin the expedition.
No, and I did experience that one way once, and it was interesting, and certainly did cut off the time. Now, where do you position the line in terms of, are you luxury? Are you a luxury expedition ship? Are you premium? Where in the market? Because everybody's seen, I mean, the whole market's sort of been moved upscale. It seems you got great food, you got everything else on board. Where is Antarctica 21 in the mix?
So we are a boutique operator of active adventures. That's
Okay.
how we define our company. So as a shorthand, you can say we have luxury vessels, certainly with Magellan Explorer and Magellan Discover. They're beautiful ships that are very modern and very comfortable with all the amenities that one would expect. They feel more like a private yacht than a cruise ship because of their size. Um, but we are an adventure travel company. We are focused on the destination, and very important, the style of our operation is unpretentious. It is friendly, and it prioritizes connections, both between our guests and our teams and with the places where we go with nature. So the style of what we do is very much an adventurous expedition, but we do that with extremely comfortable, beautiful, nicely designed vessels. We are the equivalent of that beautiful mountain lodge that gives you access to the best powder. You
Got it.
go because of the powder. You don't go because of the spa at the lodge. Sure, there is a spa, but that's not the motivation that's driving you there. What's driving you is access to the destination. And for us, the small scale of our vessels is what makes all the difference. There is less noise, less confusion. Everything is fast because you have fewer people. The logistics are simpler, And in a place as unpredictable as Antarctica, that flexibility makes the difference between having extraordinary experience versus an average experience.
Right. And in terms of the accommodations and the cuisine, where would you put yourself there? And what is the cuisine on board?
So the vessel is a five-star vessel when it comes to Magellan Explorer and Magellan Discoverer. Ocean Nova is a three-star vessel, but as I've explained, that vessel is now transitioning outside our fleet. So there is a consistency in the brand as of next year with Magellan Discoverer. Um, the the cuisine is continental cuisine. We're trying to appeal to an international audience. We have guests coming from all over the world. Over 40 different nationalities typically travel with us every year. Of course, there is a concentration in some markets, but we appeal to an international audience. So with us, you will have some dishes that are typical of a main restaurant in any big city in the world, accessible to everybody.
Got it. Now, how many, I forgot to ask, how many guests do you carry usually?
So only 76 guests on Magellan Explorer and Magellan Discoverer,
Really?
and 67 on Ocean Nova. So that is what makes us different, and the important thing is that that size combines with the size of the aircraft. So all of our departures are fed by a single flight.
Wow,
And there is
that's definitely different because most of the expedition ships down there, obviously they're under 200 or under, but that means if they're going to use the air, they need to have two flights.
two or three, correct.
Yeah,
And what that does is the window of good weather you need to operate a flight is much reduced if you only have one vessel,
mm,
one flight, I mean. Okay, so it makes the air operation less susceptible to disruption from weather conditions compared to having a more complex air operation made up of multiple flights.
right.
And also remember, you are landing at a place where there is no infrastructure. There is no airport terminal with a belt that delivers your luggage in Antarctica. There are no, the typical infrastructure of an airport doesn't exist there. So everything has to be done with much simpler resources. And so when you have a smaller operation, everything is more fluid, it's faster, fewer complications, and that means the guest experience is a lot faster and more fluid compared to alternatives.
Well, I believe me, I don't miss the baggage claim, so I don't think that that would be something I would miss at all. Now, when you're on board, are you really going in Zodiacs and going on different, maybe two excursions a day, two landings a day, and do you have anything else? You don't have helicopters or submarines and things like that, right?
No, no. The experience in Antarctica is from the Zodiacs. The Zodiacs is what gives us access to the various locations. The smaller vessel gives you access to places that are, off limit to larger vessels. There are regulations in Antarctica that control the different sites, and based on the size of the vessel, you can access certain places or not. And then what we have is optional adventure activities. So we
Right.
have kayaking as an optional activity, spectacular way of experiencing Antarctica from sea level. And we offer hiking and snowshoeing as dedicated groups. And there, people can get access to higher elevations and have viewpoints that are different compared to, let's say, the shore level, which is where most of the excursions take place.
Now, do you have any sort of unique itineraries that you've developed? I mean, I have to tell you, I've been now three times, and a lot of the places we go were the same ones. It's not like you remember them that well, but then sometimes I do go there. I went there and said, yeah, I remember being here. But do you do something different?
Well, Antarctica has all sorts of different options that completely depend on the weather. and ice conditions. The two big things that are that determine the itinerary of a particular trip is access based on ice conditions and the condition of wind, and how that impacts the ability to go ashore. So these trips, they start off with a general idea
Right.
of what the plan is, but then in practice, every trip adapts to the reality of of the environment there, right? So there are many sites in Antarctica that you could consider common sites, highlights, and often those sites are included in itineraries because they are sure to deliver some aspects of the experience that is valued by guests, whether being penguin colonies or
Right.
landscapes or the ability to do zodiac cruising in scenic places, and those they are part of itineraries because they really deliver a wow factor, right? But then there are many other sites that offer similar experiences, but they are not as known as the highlights.
Right.
And so all of the operators are aware, and all of the operator use different sites depending on different conditions. I would say is impossible today to say that somebody has a secret in Antarctica. Every vessel is closely monitored by global positioning systems. Everybody knows what everybody is, right? So
Yeah, and indeed, you're pretty isolated down there. I did tell you when I was on one cruise, I saw your ship in the distance. You don't see that often. I think I saw a Viking ship once, and I saw, but you are really, it's such a huge continent that but you're really focused on the Antarctic Peninsula. Do you go down to sort of whatever passes for the mainland of Antarctica?
yeah, so every trip crosses the Bransfield Strait from the
Right.
South Shetland Islands and then explores the western coast of the Antarctic Peninsula. And some departures go to the north of the peninsula and to the Weddell Sea as
That's
well.
the one. That's the one I was talking about, the Weddell
Yeah,
Sea. Yeah.
yeah, so depending on the conditions, and early in the season the Weddell Sea is typically iced in and it's less accessible. Later in the season it becomes more accessible, and the same for southern latitudes. So going across the Antarctic Circle into areas that are further south, typically that happens in the second half of January and into February, for reasons of access. But we do have one itinerary that goes south of the Antarctic Circle and has that sort of like a geographical objective that becomes important to some of our guests.
Now, when is the best time to go to Antarctica? And is it really dependent on what you want to go for, whether you want to go photography, whale watching, penguin hatching, bird watching? I mean, when are some of the best times to go?
Yeah, so the Antarctic season is a short season, okay? And especially if we talk about the fly and cruise model, because you can't fly in October, although you can sail to Antarctica in October, and you can't really fly past the beginning of March, not reliably anyway. And so when it comes to Antarctica 21, we only concentrate on the very peak of the season, which is, very end of November going to the beginning of March. And
Got it.
it's a short season, right? So within that time, you have slight variations in experience, and they depend primarily on uh, sea conditions and snow cover,
Mhm.
and on the other hand, the patterns of wildlife during what is for them, the austral summer,
Mhm.
and the time where there is a lot of activities with reproduction and chicks, and in the case of penguins and all of that. And so what happens is, as the season begins, you have more snow cover, more ice, and the sites are really pristine. So,
Mhm.
for example, a photographer who is trying to capture landscape photography may find that time a great time to go because your landscapes are pristine. There is a lot of ice, a lot of snow, and the light is still early in the summer,
Mhm.
or in some cases, if you go really early, it's still late spring, and it gives you a light that is more interesting for your landscape photography, let's say, than what you may have in January. Also, the wildlife early in the season, especially penguins, they're building their colonies. There is a whole dynamic that's happening there as they prepare to um, then take care of their chicks. And then as the season progresses, you have melting of snow
Mhm.
and you have more wildlife activity. So the penguin chicks are born, and now the penguins are taking care of their little ones. And as you go later into the season, there is a further evolution in the dynamics with wildlife, where the penguin chicks are growing, they're adolescent, they're very awkward, and you got all sorts of moments that are quite humorous in their movement. It's like teenagers, gangly teenagers. It's the penguin equivalent of that. And what happens is there is a lot more activity with whales. So
Okay.
as you get into February and the beginning of March, typically the congregations of whales and the opportunity you have to experience seeing whales feeding in large numbers increases. It doesn't mean you don't see whales earlier on. It's just that typically there is a greater volume of sightings as
Right.
you get into February and the beginning of March.
No, so and I experienced that myself because I was on there 3 different cruises in one year, so I saw different things at various different times. And so you're absolutely right. There's different evolution with the penguins. They always tell you stay away from the penguins, but they don't tell the penguins to stay away from you. This is
Correct.
which is one of the interesting things, or the seals, more to the point. And I remember a few times people came up to was standing there, and the seals would come right up to them, and you got to kind of get big and say, you're not supposed to go here. One lady went the other way and she ran away, and that wasn't good because the seals are pretty fast. I got to tell you.
Yeah, especially fur seals actually are quite dangerous,
Yeah.
So there is a real concern there for sure.
Now, how do you differentiate Antarctica 21 from the others in the market? We've been talking a lot about it. Obviously, your first differentiating point, at least up until recently, was your air cruise model, right?
Correct. So first of all, the great majority of travelers who visit Antarctica travel by ship and sail the Drake Passage, and so for us, the flying cruise model is a clear differentiator. And
Yeah.
then within that flying cruise model, what differentiates Antarctica 21 is the size of our ships and the model with a single flight. We have been doing this for over 20 years. The aviation company is one of the partners in our business, and we have a special agreement with the aviation company that contractually gives us priority over the flights. And so, because it's a single flight, it's very easy for them to isolate that from all the other operations and treat that as a bit of a special opportunity. Even logistically, it's a lot easier. And so, those are the differentiators.
Yeah, no,
You
I could see it being it's absolutely, and I love the fact that it's just one flight and your ships are smaller, because there's been a tendency to almost go to the max of about 200, and I think you can only have 100 on land at any time anyway, right? If you
Correct. Correct. So what happens when you travel on a larger vessel? They have to organize the visits ashore in turns, right? And so, um, like it or not, you have more people, and there is only 24 hours in a day, and so if you have a limit to the number of people you can put ashore, you need to adapt to that. And the experience is good. You can go, you get ashore, but with us, we can take all of our clients ashore at once. Nobody's taking turns. The
right,
process is very quick. And so it results in a focus on that excursion. The time is longer, and the style of what we do is a lot more relaxed because we are not moving as many people, right? And it's just the fact of being in a smaller group. There are all sorts of dynamics that are different, and one of the things that I can tell you is less noise, less confusion, like the restaurant is quieter, the
yeah,
whole ship, everything is a lot more exclusive. compared to larger groups.
Which is certainly one of the luxuries you have. Absolutely. So that's
Correct, correct. So we may not have the helicopters and the hairdresser and 40 different brands of whiskey, right? We have 6 brands of whiskey and they're good ones. But what we really have that makes a difference is the ability to take everybody ashore very quickly and to give you an experience in Antarctica that is personalized to who you are and what you want to experience. Every trip is different and we adapt to the mix of guests who come. Sometimes people are very active, sometimes people are very interested in learning. Sometimes people want to have fun, and for them is about diversion, and we're able to adapt very easily. We have 14 expedition staff on board the vessel for 76 guests.
right.
We can adapt and offer, um, what people are looking for with this very personal connection that is typical of boutique products, personalized.
No, that's great. Now, how can travel advisors here in the U.S. better work with you at Antarctica 21 to sell more of your product?
So we have two market managers that are in the US. One takes care of the eastern side of the country, and the other one takes care of the western side of the country. And we also work with a representative that also connects us with many travel professionals. So these 3 individuals are 100% dedicated to working with travel professionals.
Mhm.
That's the only responsibility they have. And they are able to offer training sessions and are able to offer cooperative marketing programs of
Okay.
various kinds to work with our agent partners. And in addition to that, we have on our website, there is an agent area, and there are many resources available in that agent area, custom prepared for our trade partners. So there are images, there are deck plans, there are graphical elements that can be used for promotions, there are videos that can be customized. And so all of those resources are available to our agent partners.
Fantastic. Sounds like a good way to learn how to better sell Antarctica 21. Anything else you can think of to tell our 127,000 travel advisors out there?
Um, I would say um, maybe 2 things, and there are both things that have to do with the destination itself. Okay, the first one is to recognize that there is an enormous revenue opportunity in this world of Antarctic expeditions. Due to the nature of the operation, the resources that are needed, the fact that the season is so short, um, these trips tend to be quite costly. And as a result, the commissions that are earned in this type of programs are significant.
Sure.
And so a comparable investment in terms of promotions, in terms of the time in becoming knowledgeable about this type of product, uh, done for an alternative product may result in a lower return. There
Sure.
is a beautiful opportunity, and it's an industry that is growing. And so I would say for the agents that are watching this, consider this industry, consider investing in developing your expertise and your understanding of what this industry is all about. You will find that the clients typically who are interested in these type of trips are a lot more interested in the details of the experience, and price comes as obviously a consideration all the time, but it's a secondary consideration. It's like when you're buying a a, a luxury car, or when you're selecting, dinner for your anniversary. Price, of course, is a consideration. We all have budgets, but there is something else that comes as the first consideration. And here, for a lot of the people doing these trips, the experience in Antarctica is the first consideration. So to be successful, you need to develop expertise, in being able to speak knowledgeably about this program. It takes a bit of an investment in training. The second thing is to remember that Antarctica, although it is more accessible, it remains an adventure destination. It's a place that is unpredictable, and it requires predisposition for being adaptable and for making the best of various circumstances. It is the kind of place where you can find a lesson in everything you live if you have the right frame of mind. So it is not the right destination for somebody who gets anxious if the train is 10 minutes late. Right? Because the weather controls everything that happens in Antarctica. It's the kind of place where if we are unable to go ashore because the wind is blowing, well, we'll see you in the lounge and we will talk about the storms of explorers who were in similar conditions, but with resources that were far more essential or far simpler than what we are enjoying today. And we turn that into an opportunity to learn something while we are surrounded by terrible weather. It is the kind of place that is full of lessons, but it requires an open mind and an adaptability to the circumstances. Don't go to Antarctica with an expectation that things will work like clockwork. You will be disappointed. And so as a travel professional, make sure you prepare your audience, because their satisfaction depends on understanding that. It needs to come before they select the trip.
Mm-hmm. No, actually, that's great. Great advice, especially, and having experienced this before, I totally understand what you're talking about. Now, just to remind us once again, where can travel advisors learn more about Antarctica 21? It's the website, which is pretty simple, www.antarctica21.com, and I assume that will give you also the travel advisors access to your travel advisor tools and training, right?
Correct. And agents can also write at sales@antarctica21.com, and we'll put them in touch with the market managers that are responsible for their region.
Fantastic. Well, Francesco, great. Thank you for taking the time to talk about Antarctica 21. I've been wondering about it since I saw your ship in the distance around the bend in one of the bays in Antarctica. So what is that ship in the black with the X's on it? And then it was explained to me, but certainly not in the depth way you have here. And I know a lot of travel advisors are always looking for new products. It sounds like your ships have got to be some of the smallest there in terms of the capacity and the ability to go also by air all the time, and you're experienced in this. Again, thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you, James. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to helping some of your agents in your audience.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.